Hi, good day everyone, once again. This is 503 and would start. Today, our topic is understanding the role of tax in governance by our facilitator, Mr. Joe Mijinyawa. So I'm just going to read his bio before he continues. Joe Mijinyawa is a Nigerian born in Zaria. He started schooling in Zaria, Kaduna State, and proceeded to Ilorin, Kwara State. Later, he studied sociology at ABU Zaria and did his NYSC in Enugu State. Joe worked at First Bank of Nigeria PLC for over 12 years. He is currently an ICANN student member, an associate member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, a member of Nigerian Institute of Management, and also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. Joe is passionate about good governance at every level. He enjoys reading, teaching, and engaging in meaningful conversations. So, ladies and gentlemen, our facilitator for today, Sir Joe Mijinyawa. The floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Good evening, class. Good evening, everyone. Our topic, as she has mentioned today, is understanding the role of tax in governance. And we'll be starting right away. So before we go further, I want to know if we have people in the class who have ideas about taxation. Do we have anyone who can say something about taxation or tax as it is? Just anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. So anyone who wants to say something, what you understand by tax, or you want to say something about taxation? All right. If we don't have anyone, I would assume we're all here to learn and would. Okay, someone has raised their hand.
Bethel, I've asked you to unmute. Okay, since she's not ready, Nasiru, you can unmute and go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir, for your time. For me, what I understand that taxation is that it's just a means of the country or a government generating income to carry out activities.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have any other?
Omar?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
two
Omar.
other people. All right.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Briefly, my own understanding of taxation and how I've been hearing people talk about taxation, it's about generating revenue for public development, for development of public services like hospital, road, and other things. So that is my understanding.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
So we have one more hand, Bethel.
All right.
Bethel, you can unmute.
All right. Maybe she's having some technical issues. And just so that we don't stay too long on the same issue, I would go right away to discuss on the objectives of this study. We should understand at the end of this module the reasons for tax and taxation, the need for government to collect taxes, who should collect what tax, and what are the basic principles of a good tax system, and then the sources of tax laws in Nigeria. And for emphasis sake, I would appreciate if we limit ourselves to the scope of this study, because I understand and I know that this period, Nigeria is going through a lot of tax reforms and all that, and I'm sure everybody is here to throw all their gray areas. I would respond accordingly when you come up with your questions, but I want us to limit our scope to this so that we can understand why we're here. Now, taxation, or tax as it is the money that you have to pay to the government so that it can pay for public services. It can be said to be a monetary charge imposed by the government on persons, entities, or property levied to yield public revenue. It's enforced proportional contributions from persons and property levied by the state by virtue of its sovereignty for the support of government and for all public needs. Tax can therefore be described as a form of levy imposed on all the residents living in, as well as non-residents doing business within a tax jurisdiction. It is a civic and patriotic responsibility of citizens to pay taxes imposed, which also come to the government as income or revenue, yielding device to finance the provisions of socioeconomic and infrastructural amenities, and also to enhance industrial efficiency. The process of levying and collection of tax from taxpayers is known as taxation. In other words, you can look at it, the tax administration itself is what we call taxation. Now, on the other hand, we'll be looking at what governance is, and it speaks to monitoring and controlling decisions, as well as giving leadership and direction. So if we try to match it with our topic, understanding the role of tax in governance, you would agree with me that for all of us who are aspiring to be political office holders, who are aspiring to be leaders in the country, it is very paramount for us to understand the role of taxation in governance. No government will succeed without imposing taxes. If you think that the government is being unfair, then I would love to ask, where else would the government get its funds? Yes, we have several sources of funds for the government, but principally, tax has always been there and has lived a very long time with us. Over time, I think I would say it has gone as far back as even maybe I would say the early life of human beings. Now, we'll look at the brief history of the Nigerian tax system, which would just date back to pre-colonial and colonial times. You would also want to agree with me that for us, maybe if we set our minds back to our traditional or our cultural or our background, where we come from, there's always one form of payment we do, not only to the government, but also to our chiefs, our emirs, our obas, our atas, our ezes, ohinois, and the likes of them. These taxes, some call it zakat, some call it kudenkasa. There's also shuka. We also have the ishakole, contribution of farm products as a form of land tax. Osusi Machi Unku, levies for palm fruits from another side of the country. In Rivers and Bayelsa states, block hunting and fishing, and also other forms of taxation, whereby male adults offer assets in form of canoes, boats, nets, and other fishing equipment to fish jointly, while the females sell the harvested fish, and the sales proceeds are used in financing community projects. So you can see that even before the time of colonialism, we had our own forms of taxes. Now, the present Nigerian tax was established by the British the colonialists, and they brought it to us through the Proclamation Law of 1914, which was applicable to the whole nation. That was after the amalgamation. We have the Native Law Ordinance, Cap 74 of 1917. It was applicable to Western Nigeria, was reenacted in Eastern Nigeria in 1929, which was part of the reason that resulted in the Aba Women's Riot. I'm sure you remember a little about history. For you to understand the present, you must know the past. And so you can see that there's a connection to certain occurrences in the country that is linked to taxation. We have non-natives protectorate tax ordinance, later consolidated with subsequent amendments in 1939. The ordinance was later repealed and incorporated into taxation ordinance in 1940, subsequently reenacted as income tax ordinance 1943. The above tax laws were administered on individuals and corporate entities by tax controllers, who are what we call district officers in different districts, provinces, and regions of the country. And in order to achieve uniformity, certain amendments were made. The Reisman Commission in 1958 was brought, and the commission recommended introduction of uniform basic income tax. So what we're experiencing today, the tax reforms, 2024 tax reforms that has brought in the new tax laws that are going to be activated, so to say, by 1st of January 2026. These are not things that came with the current administration. They have always been there. There have always been reasons for us to change certain things and make tax appealing. It's not always acceptable, but it looks appealing to the citizens so that the government can raise its revenue. So you would go through this and see that at different levels, there were changes. Some taxes were repealed, others were introduced, some were amended, and all that. All this is done in order to ensure that the government gives a smiling face to the citizens, as they expect the citizens to also try as much as possible to pay their civic rights and ensure that they pay their taxes. Now, every tax is meant to generate revenue. So these are the objectives of tax. Revenue generation. In order for us to fight insurgents, for instance, the government needs money to buy arms. And the government cannot rely on oil as it is today. We know how the oil sector has become so not itself, unlike those days when everybody was talking about oil money, oil money, oil money. The new oil is the tax or revenue. Even if we say that there are other means of raising funds, you agree with me that the government cannot continue to sell government assets, because that is part of the sources of funds, sale of government assets. You can also not say that you are going to rely on fines. All these fines from road safety, from VIO, from customs, those fines also are not taxes. They are fines for defaults. And those defaults cannot now necessarily mean that that is the main source of funds. But when you see the everyday life of everybody is business, people do businesses, people earn salaries, people earn commissions, people earn. By the time you're able to tax this, there's a lot the government has. So it is meant for revenue generation. It is also a means for redistribution of income and wealth. You will look at it that, yes, somebody like the business Dangote Group, they pay a lot. They pay a lot. And when they pay that, it is redistributed, because now Nigerian Army will not say they are going to save only Dantata or Dangote because they are the ones that pay more. No, everybody enjoys from the service rendered as a result of the taxes they pay. So it's a form of way in which the government tries to make everybody comfortable within the country. Now, it's also a means of managing the economy. Certain levies, certain taxes are put on certain items, or when you notice that, okay, for instance, everybody is going into a particular kind of business, then you know that there's something lucrative about it. Then the government can decide to manage the economy and also impose some certain taxes. Also, in looking at habits, they discourage particular activities of citizens like betting, smoking, alcohol intake, and all that. You will notice that there's a lot of tariffs that are being put in place to discourage the use of certain things, like the luxury tax for those that own boats and yachts, luxury boats. There's a lot of tariff they pay. Same thing with those that own private jets. They park at the airport, but they pay a lot of fines. Not fines, they pay a lot of they make a lot of payments for such services to be rendered because they're using the airspace of the nation and all that, and so they have to pay all that they are levied from the federal airport authorities. There's also harmonization of economic objectives, which is also another way of another objective of taxation. Now, every tax system has its own principles, and it can be dated back to the time of Adam Smith, 1776, who gave us very good principles of taxation, which up till today, we can say that the government is still leveraging on those things. There must be equity. Everybody should be taxed. There must be certainty. People should be certain about what they're paying. There should be convenience. And that's why you would see that today, people are able to pay taxes from the comfort of their offices and homes. Administrative efficiencies, simplicity. It should be simple, it should be productive, and it should be flexible and stable. A good tax system should be flexible enough for changes to be effected by any government of the day. This flexibility, however, must be balanced with the need to have a stable tax system. Now, we have different types of taxes, and this we have the proportional, the progressive, and the regressive. The proportional is such that a percentage, for instance, is fixed. So like we know currently, businesses that earn less than 50 million, although it has been amended to 100 million to take effect by January, are on 0%. So even if you do 99 million, that's revenue. You're on 99, you're on 0%. But when you cross over to 100, then you're slammed by the tax rate of 30%. So you can see that there are various steps to ensure that the tax system is proportional. Like the example of someone who earns 100,000, 20% of that you would see at 20,000, while someone who generates an income of 1 million will be paying 200,000. So these are the kind of things that the proportional tax tries to portray in order to make the tax more accessible and acceptable. Then you have the progressive, which is the pay as you earn, that states that the higher you earn, the higher you pay. So the percentages will be graded. For the first 300, you'll be graded at a percentage. The next 300, you're graded at a percentage. First 500, next 500, like that. And that is how it goes. But the regressive, there is no tax system that has applied this, which states that the higher you go, the less you pay. I don't think any country, to my knowledge, is using this. Then also there's another classification of taxes when we have the direct and indirect taxes. By direct taxes, we mean it is levied directly on the individual. You have the personal income tax, you have the company's income tax, capital gains tax, tertiary education tax, the petroleum tax, which is hydrocarbon tax. This is all directly at the income you make. Now, the other one, which is the indirect taxes, is levied indirectly and people pay it without knowing. Like if you go to a shop, for instance, and you buy Coke, somewhere you would go, you might buy Coke for 500. Another place you go, you might buy for 800. But of course, it doesn't matter to you. You're just paying them and you're walking away. But you have paid a tax. At one point or the other, you have paid a tax. And that is a value-added tax. So for every item that has enjoyed or has any form of modification, there's a tax levied on it. And currently in Nigeria, it's 7.5%. Now, we also, as we discuss this, we should understand the tripod of taxation, which stands as the tax policy, tax administration, and the tax laws. So the tripod of the tax policies stems on the introduction of different statements of intention, which guide the thinking and action of all concerned. So for you to have a very good tax system, there has to be good tax policies in place. The policies have to be directed for people to understand. It should be directed at people in trying to make people understand the reason behind the tax. Then it should be backed by laws. If you look at the process in which the new Tax Act came into being, the Nigerian Tax Act, Tax Administration Act, the Revenue Service Act, and the Joint Tax Board Act, all these different acts pass through different levels at the House of Assembly, House of Reps, and then the Senate. They did all the public hearing, they did everything before it was assented by the president. So all these are backed by laws. Every tax you see is backed by a law, and that is why it is a compulsory levy, because there's a law that backs it. You will not be able to administer any tax if there's no law that backs it. So if you're looking at being a local government chairman, for instance, and you say, everybody passing through my local government with a truck must pay something, you can't just pronounce it. It has to go through the process of lawmaking, and then you make it into law, and then you can now say, okay, hey guys, we have this as a law, and then you can start collecting your levies. In Nigeria, the Constitution vests the legislation of income tax, whether personal or corporate, on the federal government in order to promote uniformity. The power to impose tax in Nigeria is within the exclusive legislative authority of the federal government. There are various machinery set up by the government to ensure strict compliance of these laws. Non-compliance attracts penalties and fines. Now, the tax administration. This is the practical interpretation and application of the tax laws. The body charged with collection of taxes at the federal, state, and local level. So at the federal, we have the Federal Inland Revenue Service, soon to be named the Nigerian Revenue Service. And then at the state level, we have the State Internal Revenues. And then at the local government level, we have the Local Government Revenue Committee. Now, we'll look at the sources of Nigerian tax laws. We have the customary laws, like the ones I mentioned earlier, Ishakole, Osusunku, Zakat, and all that. They are all based on laws that have existed during the traditional level, the pre-colonial levels. And so it had to be brought in for people to accept some of these laws. So certain amendments will be made just so that people feel the need to make those payments. Like I mentioned earlier, you have the statute laws. So it is expected that tax legislations passed by acts of the national or state assemblies and bylaws of local government authorities in a democratic government, these legislations confer necessary powers on the taxing authorities to impose taxes on the citizens, which is the individuals, companies, trusts, and settlements. You have case laws based on judgments pronounced by superior courts of records, namely Supreme Court, Appeal Court, and High Courts. You have circulars by the Inland Revenue Service. You have opinions of tax experts and authors insofar as the court take judicial notice of them. Budget and pronouncement of relevant ministries, and then paramount is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, it is pertinent to note that taxes are collected in order for the government to have adequate funds to run the affairs of the country, as the case may be, for the government to be able to defend her territories, build infrastructure, and also ensure that its civil public servants are adequately paid their remunerations, tax must be involved. As such, in governance, we must know that tax is of utmost importance and must be collected by government. It should also be noted that payment of tax is a constitutional duty of every citizen, and everyone should abide by this. Give unto Caesar what is for Caesar, unto God what is for God. Thank you very much. I'm open to taking your questions. And like I mentioned earlier, we should limit to the scope of this study, while I would also take some time to answer any other questions as been asked. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful lecture. So please, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box or you can raise your digital hands. Okay, we have Prosper. I'll ask you to unmute and ask your question. Prosper, are you there? Okay, Manasseh, you can go. Prosper is not ready.
Good evening, Ma. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
It's a very interesting one in terms when we come to tax, because we Nigerians, especially some of us, we are paying when they talk about paying of tax. Reason being that sometimes you don't see what they are doing with that tax, but they are busy collecting. The question now is, one of the government in those years back came up with this tax something in my state, and then you suffer to see how you will raise your own personal money to dig a well so that you'll be getting source of water from there, because the government was not able to provide you with water. And then you are asked to pay a tax on the well you have dug by your own self. Is that tenable? Is that correct? Please, I seriously need
so
clarity.
let me quickly mention something. Mr. Manasseh,
Yes. Thank you,
I
sir.
want to find out if, yes, I'm sure you live in an urban area, or even if it's not an urban area, there's what we call ground rent. Are you aware of ground rent? Why do you pay ground rent?
Yeah, the ground rent in an area where I live, they are using that money for security purpose.
Ground rent?
Yes, because
who collects ground rent?
There's a particular account that is open for that purpose in that community where I'm living.
Okay.
So they collect the ground rent and then they use the money from there to pay vigilante groups.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me just shed a little light based on what I understand. Ground rent, as I know, is paid to either local government or state government.
Okay.
It is levied on the land where you own. Now, what this means is that land is owned by government, and we all know that. And your C of O is tenured for 99 years, which means if tomorrow oil is found or a certain mineral resource is found on that land, government can take it over. And so when you dig a well, you are digging on the land owned by government. And so if they levy on you certain fines, I think from what I understand, it's backed by the law. And like I mentioned earlier, there is no legislation, or rather, there's no tax administration that will come without a full legislation. And must have tested the process of becoming a law. So for you to dig a well on the land and they're aware of it, I think they should levy you. And I hope you know that, for instance, in any area where you stay or where you reside, you cannot take it upon yourself to provide infrastructure. You can't, it's a crime in Nigeria for you to even construct a road without government giving you approval to do so. So we need to understand these things, understand the laws, so that we can know that, okay, these things are not right or these things are right. So in this case, from my own understanding, the government has the right to impose that on you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Emmanuel, I've asked you to unmute.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you for the wonderful lecture, sir. My own questions goes to, like, in this my area, they used to come and ask for something called tournament rates. I tried to ask from those local government officials, what's the meaning of this tournament rate? But none of them is giving me a reasonable answer. Maybe they don't understand, or they just come, even though one of the days that they brought a court order or something. So though we need to just pay them to allow peace to reign, because most of these people in this area that I am, most of them are just all these agriculturists. They just come and bring a paper. Fine, the name on it is a state law about you return 10% back to the states on the land you build your house. So I want explanation on that, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. So, like I mentioned earlier to the last person that asked the question, I asked him about ground rent. Tenement rate is not far from that. It's also a rate that the government, is a levy that the government will impose on every citizen for land ownership. And that's because there's a how do I put it? There's a law that is backing it. So nobody will come to you and tell you to pay any form of taxes if there is no law backing it. So like I said, it's very good for us to always understand and also try to read wide, because in the course of that, you'd be able to understand some of these things. Because a tenement rate is charged on buildings, either residential or commercial. So it's collected by local governments for shops. You see that people that own shops, people that own, even in the market, in the local markets where you have tables, just stalls, they are being charged a particular fee on that. So I want you to understand this concept of taxation or rates from the angle that if tomorrow you are at the helms of affairs and you need to raise funds, where will you get those funds from? For instance, in your local community, today you have been appointed as a sole administrator of that area. What would you do to raise those funds? The laws are there. And you know that it's not all about how much am I making that I will pay tax. No, you are now looking at it from the other side of it, from the governance side of it. And when you look at it from that angle, you will not fault them. Instead, you cooperate to them because you know that if you clap for them today, you'll be clapped for tomorrow. The bottom line still remains that government needs to be accountable to its citizens. I will not stand to say it is perfect, but I'm sure and I know that we're heading towards perfection in this country. And so let's leave it at that. But I would also want to always tell you that there is no tax or rate that is being charged that is not backed by the law. So tenement rate, yes, is recognizable. It is part of it. The people might not know why they are even doing it, but I can assure you that they are backed by the law if you inquire further. Thank you very much.
Okay, Manuel, I believe your question will answer. All right. Kule Lawal, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, moderator. And good afternoon, Mr. Joe.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kunle.
Yes. How are you today? Thank you for this.
Very well.
For the presentation. My question will just be, how do we juxtapose excessive government borrowing with all these taxes as well? Because I know the essence of the IGR, right, is also to finance projects among other things that the government need all this money for. So how do we juxtapose these increments in our IGR, which has been going up astronomically, I can say, from the record that we have that FIRS have been generating, and the excessive borrowings of government? How do we juxtapose that? I want to believe it's still the same Mr. Joe that I know from First Bank.
Yeah, I saw the name. Yes.
Okay, good.
All right. To meet you. Thank you, Kule. Good to meet you again.
Yeah.
So now I want to narrow my answer to me and you. As we come towards the beginning of another year, I'm sure you will make some projections that probably by June you should be able to achieve certain things, and by August you should have done certain things, and these things are backed by funds. Now let's take for example that your salary is your tax, and you are expected to have raised an amount by a certain time, and you know that if this time comes and I'm not able to achieve this, what will I do? So you can as well take in advance, which is a loan. So the government can decide to say, okay, yes, we know that this is must do. We must do this in order to continue as government. Yes, we're expecting returns. Now, take it behind your mind and know that as you collect the loan, you must be paying back that loan and you must continue governance. So in as much as the taxes are increasing, like they say, more money, more problem. As the country continues to grow and advance, the issues are changing. The inflation is also affecting the government because the spending, whatever the government is doing, has a ripple effect everywhere. So I am not totally taking sides with the government that they must or should continue to borrow. But if you look at it critically, me and you, certain times, even if you know that your salary has increased, you will know that there are certain things you need to achieve, which is time bound. So you must go ahead to do it, which you will need borrowing. And let me tell you, some of the sources of funds for government in public finance is borrowings. Government has to borrow. So it is part of ways of raising funds. And that's why you also have government bonds, a lot of government bonds, treasury bills. It's all ways of mopping in money for government to be able to run itself. And then subsequently, these same taxes that we're talking of will be used to balance all these things. And that's why I always advise Nigerians, when you are looking at national issues, don't think that, yes, the president is actually enjoying, we have raised 21 trillion, FRS has done this for them. What are they doing with it? No, senators are collecting this one. My brother, let's wait till we find ourselves on that seat and we'll do better before we say we are criticizing a lot. So for that, I would say borrowing is part of sources of funds for the government, and every government must definitely do that to sustain itself until an assumed level of comfort comes for such a government. Thank you.
All right, boss. Sincerely, I hear you and I understand your point. But do we get to a point in time that we can classify that this is an excessive borrowing, right? Because I believe I understand your point clearly well, that government needs to finance itself, it needs to run, and there are so many aspects of it, right? But I also believe we should be able to get to a point in time we could say that this is out of the way. We can't continue to mortgage.
In as much as I understand your concerns, I understand your concerns, but like I said, he who wears the shoe knows where it hurts. You and I are not yet in the helms of affairs to know what is excessive and what is not. So I'll leave it at that, that definitely the government is aware of it.
Just like you said.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, boss.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Bethel, I've asked you to unmute.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Bethel.
Earlier I was trying to say something and my network was just seizing.
I figured. I figured.
Okay. My question is on personal income tax.
Okay.
From the recent tax reforms, right?
Yes.
That's going to happen in January. My question is on personal monies. I do get salaries into my account. I have 2 accounts.
Yes.
So, and I do pay my my payee tax. That my it's been removed. I do before.
Yes.
I'll get spending money.
Before you are paid.
The question is, if I get, let's say, somebody, a friend, decides to give me money that is close to my salary, do I still have to pay tax? Will tax be removed?
Okay. First things first, I want to ask you, are you aware that there's a tax called capital gains tax in Nigeria?
Yes, sir.
Good. And in calculating that, usually it is from gains and gifts. So like this new act speaks to exemptions. There are certain exemptions it speaks to, which includes even gratuities, includes up to 500,000 if you earn less than that. There's a relief on the taxes. So I am not privy to the actual administration of such monies, but like you and I know that we've been mandated that everybody must have it in.
Yes.
Every business must have it in, because what they want to track every income. Now, that money that is coming to you from that friend, is it a recurrent activity that happens every now and then so that we can call it an allowance? If yes, then I think it will be taxable. If it is a gift and a constant amount of gifts coming to you, I think you will have to explain to tax authorities for them to understand on what grounds you are being gifted. So, you know, we take things for granted sometimes because certain laws are not actually enacted and enforced. The thing is this, that money that is coming to you, yes, you said it might be close to your salary or look like your salary. You must defend it. If not, it will be taxed. Because it's like somebody who owns a corporate account today. And then he has a discussion with his friend. His friend says, oh boy, one kind of money come my hand. Then he slams you 5 million. Or a friend tells you, I'm expecting one payment. Please, can I use your account? And then they slam you 5 million. Those that have corporate accounts will agree with me. FIRS will follow you to wherever you are and pin you down till you pay that tax on that money. Because what? You cannot just be collecting money and tell us that, no, it is a gift. Santa Claus like you like that. So, my sister, I would not particularly say yes, it will be taxed, but it should be taxed. Because if that income is constant, it will be taxed. Even those that invest, your interest that is coming to you, your dividend that is coming to you has been taxed, withholding tax. So how much more every other money that is coming to you? So I think you should expect some form of levies and taxes on these free monies, the so-called free monies, because they are in real sense sometimes not actually free. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have one question in the chat.
Okay.
Bashir is asking a question about the 2024 tax reforms. I want to know the disadvantages of the reform and the benefits of it to the masses. Thanks.
Well, this question, I believe I'm not going to be the one to answer it because I can't tell you that the government did wrong. And at the same time, I can't tell you that it is totally right. However, what I can say is that whatever tax reforms, when you hear of a reform, it means that something somewhere had gone wrong or something needs to be modified. And these laws that have come to play are actually modifications done to meet up the current realities. So for me, the advantages outweighs even the disadvantages because like the increase of taxable persons, they said your revenue must be up to 100 million as a corporate before you have been taxed. The relief those days by the current personal income tax is 200,000. It has been increased to 500,000. And so it says that only those that earn more than 800,000 annually will be taxed. So it means that those at the bottom of the pyramid that are earning at minimum wage, they will not be taxed. So if you say masses, I believe those that are at that level are masses, and so it is an advantage to them. Now, when you say disadvantages, I believe for me as a taxman, as an accountant, I won't see anything wrong with any tax, provided it is being administered rightly, and we only see the bright side to it. So I wouldn't say there's any disadvantage to any reform because I am a progressive. I always want things to change. So naturally, in every change, there's resistance. So maybe you are looking at it from the resistance side, but I would advise you try to work on that thought because whether you are in line with what the government is doing or not, they are backed by the law and you can't fight the law. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this informative class. But I believe we all had this question that wanted to ask on signing tax reforms. So thank you very much, sir. We don't have any more questions. Okay, Prosper.
All right.
Okay, so we have one
good
question.
evening, guys. Good evening, class.
Good evening.
Sorry, the network is
Erogene.
dealing with me here. Thank you very much. That's my native name.
Yeah.
So the question I have to ask is, I work with Money Points, and then
Okay.
for but we actually earn on commission, not on salary. Now, for every commission that we earn is being taxed 5%. So can I easily say
that's
that I pay
withholding
9
tax.
tax? Can I walk?
Yes.
Can I
Yes.
walk into FIROS office and to claim a receipt for tax?
Withholding tax, yes. That means you have a withholding tax credit note. Because I'm sure what they are being charged is withholding tax. So it's from your company. They have to also inform you on where exactly they remit to at deduction, or if they are being deducted at source. Because for individuals, states are the ones that administer it. For corporates, it is the Federal Inland Revenue. So that's why I said it is your organization that would actually inform you as to where they remit those percentages. Then you can now go to your either state's Inland Revenue Service to collect your credit tax clearance certificate, or if you are a corporate, then it has to be FIRS, and you must be able to know which of the where they were remitting, and so that you can actually pin it to how you can demand for your tax clearance. I think they have a automated process through the Tax Pro Max if you're a corporate. Pardon? Hello?
I think it means I will not need to bother myself about paying another tax as in Nigeria.
No, but you see, no, I will not agree with you totally, because like I said, in taxation, there's what we call tax planning, there's what we call tax evasion, there's what we call tax avoidance. Now, this new tax law will fetch you guys. You are saying that you don't earn salaries, but you earn commissions. It is a way of actually planning for you guys. So I won't call it avoidance. It is evasion. It's a tactical way of playing around the law, the tax law. I would promise you that this will not continue. Come 2026, something new will come up, and you would see a difference in that particular pattern. Your organization will definitely get back to you guys with some reviews that they will make, and you get to know about it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more question in the chat.
Sir, can you explain how we as individuals can go about obtaining TIN? Yes, individuals should go to their state internal revenue service boards, or you can log on to jointtaxboard.gov.ng, jtb.gov.ng. You should be able to join tax board. Their website, I think there's a self-service there where you can actually register and get your TIN directly from them. I don't know how effective it is now, but if you have any difficulties, going to the State Board of Internal Revenue office it would be of very good benefit to you. Okay, Abubakar Musa Sadiq has raised his hand.
Abubakar, Abbas is on mute.
Good evening, sir.
Evening, Abdul. Okay.
Yes. I would like to make a comment rather than a question.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, sir, this tax issue is quite strange to a lot of Nigerians because we are accustomed to the rentier system. The government will just go to a particular part of the country and just extract national wealth, like the crude oil. They just sell the money to other places, other federating units, and they just use the money to do whatever they want. For instance, if a state like maybe received like 16 billion last month, and a lot of citizens will just think that 16 billion is just a kind of pro bono money. Some people will not even think that it's even real. That's why they don't even question their leaders. What are they doing with the money? But I think this tax, one of the reasons that a lot of Nigerians are not even patriotic, they are not even after what the politicians are doing with their resources, is because we are not paying tax. But if people will start paying tax and they know that the intent in parting away with that portion of tax they are paying, I think they will be accountable. They will be asking their leaders for accountability. They will be asking the leaders what they are doing with the money. Why are you using 10 cars for convoy? Why are you doing this one? I think that will help in building this national ethos and nationality. Thank you. That's all I want.
Thank you. And I also want to ask you, I'm sure from your name, you are from the north. And
yes, I'm from Kampala.
Okay. So, and I know that those days, the shuka, the kind of levies that are being paid to the Emirate Council, those days, can anybody actually question the Emir during Doba for coming out to do, when he's doing Hawan, there's this Hawa they do, Hawan Bariki also, where he goes around the entire area to see his subjects. I'm sure in the typical Emirate system, citizens cannot even question what their taxes are being used for. And so it baffles me when individuals today, citizens, are actually trying to question the government because they feel there are certain things the government must do. My own is this. I believe that the priorities of government are usually not the priorities of the citizens. And in as much as we are looking at it from the angle of governance, we should position ourselves to making correct any loopholes we see in governance today as relates even taxation so that we can make things better tomorrow. But we can't continue trying to justify or cry about what the government is doing today. Instead, we should put our efforts together to see how we can change the situation and make Nigeria a greater nation. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We don't have any more questions again. Okay, thank you very much, sir, for today's class.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, did you have anything for us?
Good evening, Charlie. I know there's no announcement. Thank you so much, Mr. Joe. It was such an insightful class.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just to say thank you before I end the class.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.